particular type of person. It's not just anyone. It was a particular type of person. And so when we get there, we will get there. The title of today's prophecy, Bless the Name of Jesus Christ, is called They Will Have Nothing. I received this prophecy as soon as I opened my eyes today, July the 14th, 2023. So I was sleeping, and as soon as I opened my eyes, God started talking. From the minute I gained consciousness, he started talking. And this that I'm going to read is what the Lord said. This is not a thought, debate, anything. This is what God said. When the word you is used, he is speaking to this nation, the United States. And under that umbrella, people are going to have to listen very well and find wherever they fit. Thus says the Lord to the nation of America, you will have nothing. You work jobs now that pay the rent and put food on the table, but all that is coming to an end. In the future, you will not have jobs at all. The economy will be corrupted and destroyed. The decay is already visible in it, and it's going to get worse. Mass unemployment in America, no jobs, no industries, no money in circulation. Everything will be shut down. It will all be silent as people are wailing for their daily bread, and the government has no solution to the problem. So this is part one. I've spoken of the fact that we're going to go into severe economic straits, dire economic straits in the United States. And I've been speaking about this almost since I started the blog, that I've seen that America would go into a terrible time of decline, that there would be no money circulating in the country, that the economy was going to shrink, that money was going to lose 60% of its value, and that people in America would begin to struggle. And I saw, the prophecy is called Money Down the Drain, and I think that prophecy is from 2018. I saw that there was a huge schism. A schism is a split where your mind is facing two realities, and your mind cannot make those two realities work together. And so the mind, the poor mind, is under so much pressure that it suffers a split, because that's the only way it can deal with two realities that don't gel up. I saw that when that time comes, the government swung into practice and well-oiled propaganda. They began to tell us on the radio, on social media, in print media, billboards, wherever they could reach people. They began to tell us that America is the greatest country in the world, that America is only suffering a momentary setback, that America is not going through any problem that is too hard for Americans to fix. We were going to build back better. We were going to make America strong again. We were going to come back stronger than ever off the back of this crisis. That's what they told us on one hand. And I saw that at that time, the government was extremely vicious towards anyone who said the opposite. It didn't matter if that person was on the news. It didn't matter if that person was just a social media influencer. It didn't matter if that person was someone who was well trusted on maybe a financial service or a financial speculator. If anyone was speaking contrary to what the government was telling us at that time, that person was in danger of being charged with sedition. That person was seen as public enemy number one. That person was seen as an enemy of the state. That person was seen as someone who was directly opposed to the government's agenda, and that person was in danger. On the other hand, the reality that we were facing was that we could not put food on the table. As far back as 2018 and even further back, I saw that in this country, people were unable to pay the bills. People had to let go of luxuries, and the luxuries included certain food items. I spoke of those food items in the prophecy called A Vision of America, and that prophecy came in 2021. People had to decide if they were going to pay on the mortgage this month or pay the car note this month. They could not handle both payments, so they were trying to juggle life like that. Do we still send the kids to college? Can we still afford this school? Life was so difficult here, and what made it worse is that we saw the reality in our purses and our wallets and our bank statements. We saw the reality that the money was under severe economic straits, but the schism was being caused by the messaging that we were receiving. The messaging was telling us, you're okay, you're fine. America is too strong for you to be poor. But in that prophecy, Americans were poor and getting poorer by the month. No solution was coming except the propaganda lie that we were being given. And now God is saying now, many years after 2021, many years after 2018, when those first prophecies came, he said definitively that people in America will have nothing. It is very hard to misunderstand nothing. Nothing means the absence of everything, not the absence of just luxuries or the absence of some stuff. It means that absolutely nothing that you want or nothing that you wish to have will you have. He says the jobs that people are working now can pay the rent and put food on the table. And in one of the prophecies that I brought, I think either earlier this year when I was handling financial prophecies, God said that you complain about your jobs now and you complain about the fact that you have to work 2 jobs and you come home tired. But in the future, yes, the prophecy is called 2 more good years. In the future, when you lose both those jobs and you enter into that painful reality called unemployment, he said you will miss the fact that you had to wake up so early to hit the first job and had to work so late to complete the second job. You will miss having 2-3 jobs because those 2-3 jobs were doing the job of paying the rent and putting food on the table and taking care of you and your family. But when those jobs are swallowed into the economic black hole that is coming, the prophecy is called worse than 2008. And 2008 is probably one of the worst things that we have on record, except 1933. Well, God says that it's going to be worse than 2008. The jobs are going to absolutely disappear. I brought the prophecy in 2022 where I said that I saw people standing on the road, groups of men with absolutely no employment, nothing to do. People were just hoping that there was a side job or something that could pay for a few hours so they could go and do that side job and get a little bit of money. America was completely destroyed. There was no job for wealthy people. There was no job for people who had less. It was exactly, God was putting the images exactly like it was during the times of the Great Depression. And so he's saying that in the future, the same thing is going to happen. America is going to be hit with an identical financial crisis whereby in the future, you will have no jobs at all because the economy will be corrupted and destroyed. And here's what the Lord is saying. He says the decay is already visible in the economy and it's going to get worse. But what do we see on TV? We see the people who lead this country emphatically stating that there is no recession, that there is no inflation, that it's all a trick of the light. It is all just wrong numbers entered into the computer. It is liars who are lying to try and make the American people feel that the economy is not robust. They're telling us employment is up, and yet nearly every single person is searching for a job or trying to get a better one that covers their needs. The decay is visible. It's going to get worse, but they're not going to stop lying to us. So people who depend on mainstream media to tell you the truth, you are already on the wrong path. God says that mass unemployment is coming. Mass unemployment means the greater majority of humanity has nowhere to pull finances from. In the economy that we have here, you sell your skills and your strength and your time in exchange for money so that you can access what you need. But when there's mass unemployment, that means there's no jobs, there's no industries to offer jobs, and there's no money in circulation. So both the sellers, the stores, the Macy's, and the everything else that we can already see closing, they're closing in groups of 50s. And hundreds and 200s and 300s now, whereby it was just so-and-so is closing 15 branches. Now entire malls are going dead, and it's not by accident. This is the decay that God is talking about. It's visible to people, but the problem is that most people are occupied with other things, and so they can see the decay, but very few people are doing the spiritual math on what does this mean for us in a few years' time. God says that everything will shut down, everything will go silent, and there will only be one sound. And I prophesied that sound 3 or 4 years ago. He says it will be the sound of people wailing for daily bread, while the government has no solution to the problem. A lot of Americans don't know what it means to go hungry. Many people in this country have never skipped a meal in their life. So the idea that it's possible to wail, a wail is a loud, pained, and hopeless cry. The idea that people in the richest, or says it's the richest, God says America's broke. So let me not quote the propaganda, but quote the truth. America's functionally broke, functionally bankrupt, and very good at lying about it. But the nation is called the richest country in the world, the most powerful. And yet the idea that people in such a country could end up crying for food, as people cry for food in Yemen sometimes, as they cry for food in Iraq, as they cry for food in Syria, as they cry for food in many countries that have suffered brutal and long civil wars in Africa. It's probably out of most people's ability to conceive. And yet, please don't forget that the Master's Voice has two prophecies that are called America will be like Zimbabwe. In those prophecies, God basically said that the money is going to shatter, crumble, stumble, fall down, and become utterly useless. And everything that the nation of Zimbabwe has gone through, we will go through. There are quite a few testimonies from Zimbabweans under the written blog at the Master's Voice Prophecy blog and under the video. So if you want to find out what that country went through, it would be very good for you to go and look at. God says, they are pretending now that the matter is in containment. Speaking of the rot and the decay of the economy, they're pretending now that it's in containment. But I say to you, rot has spread throughout the ship, and soon it will run aground on the rocks of a global collapse that will set humanity back 50 years in terms of its reach and severity. A huge global financial crisis is at hand. Staggering economies, total collapse, financial shutdown, and the birth of the New World Order. The New World Order will rise out of this crisis with bland promises of restoring order and making things better for everyone. Rest assured, in the rising desperation, people will receive this news with relief. But it is a lie and a deception. The new order is death. Death for the masses. Death for the poor, especially. Forced labor, and eventually work camps in which multitudes